think, let me make sure it's recording. Yeah, I think we're recording now. So I'm just going to kind of open it up with some of those questions, if that's okay.
Okay, I don't see you or me anymore. So am I on the screen? I
Um,
don't know why that all went away.
all right, hang on.
Okay.
Let's see. Whoops. Has to start video.
Oh, there.
Oh gosh, what did I do?
Oh, is that
Okay.
wrong?
Um, let's see. Sorry, we're actually not using Zoom. We're using Microsoft Teams. So
Oh,
it,
okay.
um, I don't know. It is what it is. Um, and so I'm not as familiar with Zoom as I should be as a technology guy. But let's see. Let me, down at the, I'm going to pause my recording.
Your screen. So I have the
Well,
tab open up
let's
to Zoom, but I don't see
let's
anything.
assume that it's recording both of us, and worst case scenario is I'll just tell the kids what a great conversation we had and go from there. So
Okay.
anyways, I got my list of questions and I can just read them off to you.
Okay.
Um, okay, so why don't we start with, since most of these kids probably don't know you,
hmm
why don't you just do kind of a brief intro and um, your background, your profile, and
hmm
how you got into social media.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, really quick. I just want to make sure. So you're able to see me. I've just never done a video conference where I don't see the other person or
Yeah, you
myself. So I'm
can.
kind of
You
like
can see
talking to
me.
a blank screen, but I'm happy to do it if this is
Yeah, no, I can
if it
see
works out
you.
on your end. Okay.
I can see you, and I can see both of us actually. So
Okay.
that's a
That is
little
strange,
weird.
but all
Okay.
right, well, I'll go ahead and go for it. So, hey everybody, my name is Jessica. So, I graduated from Lynn Mar in 2007. So, that was kind of a while ago. I was on Lynn Mar Palms, like really involved with dance all throughout my time at Lynn Mar. I was on the varsity team for 4 years. I was a captain my last year, and then I went to school in Indiana where I cheered for the Indiana Pacers. So, starting right at the age of 19, was exposed to representing a big brand. I was exposed to like media interviews, really involved in all their social media. So kind of have already been part of that platform. And then after I graduated from Indiana State, got a degree in finance, so came back to Iowa and worked for Rockwell Collins, which I think it's now called like UTC or something like that. And so I worked for them as a financial analyst, which had nothing to do with dance, didn't really get to be creative. So I felt like a whole part of my brain like wasn't really being active, and I just really missed having a creative outlet. So one of my friends was like, hey, have you seen this new TV show, Making the Team, where it kind of followed the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders audition process and their whole training camp that they have over the summer. And I kind of became obsessed with the thought of trying out. And when I get my mind to something, I just like, I can't just not do it. So I just had to try out, and I ended up training all year for the auditions. And then I went there in the spring. I flew to Dallas and ended up making the team. So I had to tell everyone at Rockwell that I was quitting finance to pursue cheerleading. And I know like no one ever really does that. So it was kind of like really taking a risk, but my family was really supportive. And it was honestly like the coolest thing I've ever been a part of. Got to do like the media tours. We would fly out to Hollywood and do like, they would give me the mic and I would have to do interviews. And we were really, really involved with like fan interactions and social media. So kind of like had the platform built behind that. So yeah, I was with the Cowboys for 7 years. And then now I'm in Los Angeles. I live in Santa Monica because I just got married last summer. I met my husband actually on a flight from LA to Dallas. So we kind of have this like crazy story. So I don't really have a very like traditional background. My life, I feel like, has been all over the place. But now I work for a talent agency in Beverly Hills. And so we are having to, help our clients navigate the social media space and everything too. So it's been kind of like a full circle thing.
So how did you, I guess just kind of from a time frame, social media kind of got popular while you were cheering, right? I mean,
Yeah, it
you kind of
definitely,
grew up with social media, didn't you?
I did. It's so funny because I feel like Facebook came out when I was a junior in high school, and probably no one watching this even is on Facebook because it's probably for like older people now. But Instagram first launched my rookie year on DCC, but it was not at all what it is now. So most of our like fan interactions feel like I'm like sounding so old right now, but the fans would actually mail in fan mail, and we would like write back, like we would send the fan mail back. So that was kind of our interaction. And then they got us all Twitter accounts. So we had official, like mine was like DCC_Jessica. So that was more kind of our way to interact with the fans. And then the Cowboys were able to monitor it and everything. But yeah, we would do like Facebook lives. I mean, but it was not at all like what Instagram is like now. And especially with like TikTok, how that's just kind of like totally exploded since the pandemic and everyone being at home. And TikTok's not really for like the 13-year-olds anymore. There's a lot more people that are like 30 plus on it. So yeah, sorry, I don't know if I really like answered your question.
That's great. Yeah, speaking of TikTok, we kind of, I don't know, it was kind of a one-sided discussion, but thankfully for everybody that's watching, I am not on TikTok, and but somebody with your talent level can probably make something out of it. So are you seeing businesses and monetizations starting to happen with that?
Yeah, so it's like a completely new platform as far as like a revenue stream. So I'm actually part of Like to Know It, which is the reward style brand, and that kind of is like a link for me to earn commissions. Like if I post something and then someone buys something off of my link, I earn commission off of that. So Like to Know It right now is like exploring how to, I guess, gain revenue from TikTok.
Okay.
So it's brand new. Like everyone's kind of like figuring out how to go into this because it's very different than Instagram. But I mean, people are getting like millions of views in a day. It's like very easy to go viral on this. So it's something that you really want to make sure that you are like posting content, at least trying to post every day. Like I know I'm really bad about being regular, and I feel like now I have like a million different things to keep track of because I have my blog and I have my Pinterest and I have this and this and this, and then I actually have like a real full-time job. So like social media is not at all like my full-time job. So it's definitely, you have to be like organized and have like a calendar and a planner and prioritize everything.
Okay, I love that you're saying that, because that fits right along with what I'm trying to get them to understand this week, is that
Okay.
there's obviously a difference between social media and social media marketing.
Okay.
And one of the things that they're hopefully learning is that to post content regularly, and some
Mm-hmm.
platforms are better to post at certain times of the day, and depending on who your viewers are. But social media for you is obviously, as we've discussed before, is kind of like a side hustle, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you like about it? What do you not like about it? How much time are you spending on a typical day on social media for your own purposes?
Yeah, so probably my favorite part about it is the opportunity to be authentic and for people to really see like who you are, your true voice. Because for so long, my, I guess, identity was kind of tied into like the Cowboys brand. So people would be like, oh, who are you? What do you do? And I'd be like, I'm a DCC. And even after I retired, I was like, I'm a former DCC. So like my identity was just so like tied with that. So it's really important for me to like find out what my like voice is, what I had to say, because I feel like a lot of people are on here and they kind of just want to be seen and be heard, but they don't really have anything to say. So I guess what I like is people are finding out what they want to say. But probably my least favorite thing is just the opportunity for like trolling, and it's easy to like sit behind your screen and like insult someone that you've never met before. And so then I feel like that causes some people to like hold back and try and be like fake. So I guess like favorite thing is being authentic, least favorite would be like being inauthentic. And sorry, I'm like so distracted since I can't see myself or you.
No,
So I'm like talking to a blank
yeah. So are
screen.
you on
So,
an iPad? Or are you on your
yeah, I'm
computer?
on my laptop and I use Zoom all day for all my video meetings. So I've like never had this happen before.
Really?
So very
So when
distracting for me. So I'm sorry if I'm like
no, you're good.
being
You're
weird.
good. I feel bad for you.
It's
If you
okay.
wiggle your mouse, do you get any toolbars or anything?
No, the screen went away. I'm like switching
Seriously?
back and forth on all my screens, but yeah, it's okay.
Oh man, I'm sorry. I
Oh,
wish, I know that that's weird, because that's how I am. My kids won't turn their cameras on, so
oh
I'm
yeah. You're
looking
like
at
talking to
myself.
yourself. Yeah, but I'm like, I guess as long as you can see me, it's
I
okay.
can see you fine. Everything's
Okay.
working great on my end.
All
So
right.
if you stop hearing me, then maybe we'll have to worry about that. But
Okay.
I think we're all good. You mentioned about authenticity,
Mm.
and one of the terms that that the kids were exposed to this week was brand personality.
Oh yeah.
What would you say? What is your brand, Jessica?
So that was something that was like really important for me to establish early on when I realized. So last year I knew I wanted to start a blog because I had a lot of things I wanted to say, but I wanted to make sure I was smart. So I did a lot of research on how to start a blog basically. And they're like, you have to figure out your brand. You have to figure out your target audience. Cause it's like, if you don't have a specific person you're talking to, then you're not really talking to anybody. So I realized that who I wanted to talk to was like females and they're like 20s, 30s, basically just anyone that like, if I was like talking to a girlfriend, or I guess like guys too. But basically kind of figuring out what my values were was I wanted to be relatable. Like I wanted to be real for someone to like hear my stories and be like, okay, yeah, like that really resonates with me. But I also wanted to be encouraging and like inspirational because I feel like I have kind of a different path than most people take as far as going out and like chasing my dream and living that and that being the standard and then having to adjust to life post dream when you're back to normal. So kind of that hump. So yeah. So I guess like my main some of my main core values would be like being relatable and then also being like encouraging. So that would be like my brand personality, I guess, to tie into your question.
All right, perfect. Let's see. Okay, so obviously my goal with having you on today was to just kind of hear a little bit or share a little bit from your end, what being an influencer, if you feel like you're an influencer, what that means, and what you hear your fans or your audience asking you or telling you about.
Yeah, there's definitely like a responsibility to it, and I feel like it kind of has like a negative side to it because people hear like influencers and so you think like vain, you think narcissistic, you think like vapid, but there's like a lot more to it because we're already connecting with each other so much. Everyone's consuming so much social media, so there really is an opportunity for you to connect with people, for you to have something important to say, for you to not just kind of like follow along with the masses of the trends, but if you have something like a value that you can contribute, like that's your opportunity to do it. And I feel like I was giving an opportunity for so long where I had a platform, just being exposed to Pacers, being exposed to Cowboys and all of their fans, that I already had that connection. So kind of like branching off on my own and then figuring out my connection with fans now. Maybe like people who only wanted to see the Cowboys content, they aren't interested in my stuff anymore. But now I'm finding new audience and new people that I can connect with. So it's kind of been like an interesting journey.
Yeah. So without sounding too creepy, I've looked at some of the posts and a lot of them are, you're going on bridal parties or bridal showers and things like that.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that. How did all that get started?
Yeah, so that was something that was kind of like unexpected. When I was doing a lot of blog research, they were like, you have to find your niche. I don't even know if I'm like pronouncing that right. But okay. You need to figure out what's going to make you stand out. Cause I feel like there's just like a million fashion influencers on Instagram and it kind of, everyone starts to like look and sound the same after a while. And I really didn't want to do that because I feel like that kind of comes across as inauthentic. So since I got married last year and since like doing DCC, we're all kind of like about the same age and the same like life phases. So we all like kind of get married around the same time where everyone's always getting married. So I found myself having my own bachelorette last year. And then I also was in 3 other weddings last year. So I had all these bachelorettes. Everyone's like over the top doing these out of town bachelorette destinations. So I did mine in Austin, Texas. Someone else did Cabo, we did Costa Rica, we did Napa. So it was like all out, all over the place. And this is when I was like launching my blog and I was like, well, I'm already going on these trips. So we're going to be producing the content. I'm already going to have all of these other like former DCCs with me. So we're going to have the audience. So let me figure out what brands kind of have their values in line with us, would be interested in our audiences that we could collaborate with. So I started reaching out to brands. I learned like really well how to pitch because you can't just like DM a company and be like, send me stuff, because that's just like not cool. You need to like establish a relationship with them. You need to make sure that they know that you are real, that your values coincide with theirs. Like I took a whole course on this just to kind of like master the art of the brand pitch. Okay. Which I can like share that information with you later too. Yeah. But I just learned so much. And I mean, I've like established really, really great relationships with these brands. Like they're very happy to do it because we're kind of exposing our audience to their brand, and it's just like a win-win on both sides. So that was something that was unexpected, but was just something I was already doing. And so that was fun to post about.
Cool. So So let's talk a little bit about the pitch, if you don't mind.
Mhm.
Tell me, like, if you know that you're going to be in a wedding later this year, how far in
Mhm.
advance are you reaching out to companies? Are you at a point now where companies are actually reaching out to you?
Yeah, I definitely get companies that reach out quite often, and I have it all organized in a spreadsheet. It's called a pitch report. And anytime like I reach out to someone, I'll record it in my pitch report, like the brand, who I contacted, the date, and then if they reach out to me, I'll call that like a catch. So I have everything like all organized and logged, so I can kind of figure out like who I reached out to. But I guess it's kind of different right now just because like with the pandemic and everything. But I actually do have a wedding that I'm in later this summer, and she's doing her bachelorette this summer. So normally I would have already been finding companies, pitching to them, working on the collaborations.
Mhm.
But it's just a little different now because we don't really know what the future months look like. But I guess the first step that I would do when pitching is like figure out who to contact. So if I am not able to like find that information on their website, like usually it's like PR, or they'll say like collaborations or something like that. I will just like shoot them a DM and do like a quick little pitch. Like it's not my actual pitch, but I'll do a little pitch and say, hey, like I'm going to Costa Rica, blah, blah, blah. Would love for this to be an opportunity to share some of your brand with our audience. Can you please let me know like who I can talk to for collaborations? And they, not like 10 out of 10 times, will give me the contact to
Mhm.
reach out to. And then that leads to like a warm pitch. And I can say, hey, I was talking to your team on Instagram, and then like do my whole pitch.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
I know one of the things that I'm seeing is this thing called a brand ambassador.
Oh, yeah.
And I know you and I have talked about this before, but to
Yes.
share this with students that are maybe seeing this, I think it's
Yeah.
mostly on the Instagram, isn't it?
Yeah. So I just want to say beware of brand ambassadors. Some of them are good opportunities, but I feel like they're taking advantage of people. So a lot of times what they will do is these companies will inflate their prices. And so then they'll be like, hey, we will offer you brand ambassadors at 50% discount. But what really happens is that 50% discount is what the price should have been. Because I've fallen for this before where they were like, hey, you be a brand ambassador. You don't have to pay anything for the product, but just pay shipping, and shipping ended up being like $40. So it was like not at all. And the product probably cost like less than $1 to make. It was like really, really low quality. So I would just be careful because there are a lot of scams out there, and just make sure if you are having to pay for their product and like post about it, that's never okay. Like they should at least be like reimbursing you for the product or giving it to you. Like you shouldn't have to pay for shipping or anything, or they should be paying you. So you should never, never, ever have to pay for your own product to promote and like do their advertising.
Good, good.
Yeah.
Appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
Let's see, a couple more questions. You mentioned a little bit, like the whole trolling and
Mhm.
hate and stuff like that. That's pretty pervasive among social media. Have you had to deal with that? And if so, how have you dealt with it?
Yeah, so that's also something that I feel like I've been exposed to since I was 19, just because the big, brands like Cowboys, they would put our stuff on their main page. And so people could just, the little trolls could go off and say like yuck or say like mean things about it. So it doesn't really like faze me at all.
Mhm.
But I wanted to mention, I've been reading a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. And I highly recommend, if you have not read this book, you definitely need to read it. Because one of the things it talks about is just having like a very strong sense of core and your center. And so then what people like think about you and say about you just doesn't like affect you at all, because you know who you are, and their, I guess, judgment of you doesn't, impact who you are. So I
Got
guess that's like helped a lot, and I
it.
really, really would recommend that for like anybody to read.
Do you find it's best to deal with it head on, or do you just have to kind of let it roll off your shoulder?
Yeah, there is no reason to ever get in a war with a troll. They're not going, like, people are going to believe what they want to believe.
Right.
There's just no reason to ever, yeah, I would just like delete it or just like ignore it, just kind of let it face. But like, luckily I haven't really dealt with that with my own brand now. I guess if anything, it would be like friends like saying something behind my back or whatever, but that's just like silly stuff. So I haven't really had to face with any any trolls. It was mostly just like the Cowboys trolls.
Yeah. So
Really
so just doing some research in advance of this. So I saw that you are, at least on your blog, you've got links to your Facebook, you've got links to Instagram, I think to Twitter, to Pinterest. Um, how difficult is it to manage all of those and manage a full-time career?
Yeah, it's hard. I'm like, I feel like I'm like failing at it. Being home now, I've been able to kind of like balance it again, but actually like physically being in my office all day where I can't really be on my phone at all because it looks bad or do like personal things. So I've been like really slacking, but it definitely is, it's a lot. And then now I'm like trying to explore like the TikTok land now. So it's a lot. I know a lot of people who are content creators or bloggers, they actually hire a social media manager so they can kind of like make sure that all the posts are scheduled to go out on time and that they're engaging, because you have to make sure, because there's the algorithms, so you have to make sure that you are engaging and commenting and liking and all of that stuff on the other posts. So it's like a full-time job. So some people are putting that off to someone else and hiring them to do that for them.
Yeah. One of the things that's in the I guess you could call it book, the ebook that I'm using to kind of create this class or to go through this class this during this period of time, talks a lot about paid advertising. How much paid advertising do you do, if any, or are you trying to manage this strictly from an organic point of view?
Yeah, I try to really limit it just because like my like brand or my company is so small. I guess if I was a lot bigger, I would have more resources to put towards that. But I have in the beginning when I first transitioned to like a business hub for Pinterest rather than just like a personal account, I did a few paid pins, I guess they're called. And then I've never paid for Instagram though, as far as advertising or Facebook. Yeah, I haven't really put a lot of money into the ads just because I've tried to just like handle it myself. But if I did want to expand probably at a faster time, I would definitely look into that.
Is that also because this is just kind of like we've called it before, like a side hustle for you? It's not your main,
Yeah.
not your main gig, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. If it was something where I had a campaign with a client and I really wanted to make sure I had like high numbers for this specific post, maybe I would like put some money towards that just to make sure like the engagement went way up. But at this point, like where I'm at with my brand, it's not really worth me putting any like dollars into like advertising.
What are, you mentioned some of your goals earlier, I guess, just with relation to being approachable and being willing to talk with in this case students. What are your overall goals for this, for your blog or for your Instagram account? Or I mean, do you hope to continue to do this, or at some point do you see yourself just cutting ties and just using it for personal reasons like the rest of us?
Yeah, I definitely plan to keep it because while I am still like going on these trips or while I still have like articles I can write, like I might as well post them for others to see and see if they can help anybody else. Because my ultimate goal is really to be able to like encourage and inspire others based on like any triumphs or trials or anything that I've overcome. So that's like my main goal. I plan to do that even, I don't know, as long as I can.
All right, cool.
Mm-hmm.
How many of your like your teammates are doing something similar to this? Do a lot of them have social profiles where they're trying to, I don't know if you're trying to monetize it, but the potential for monetizing it and
Yeah.
making money from it? How many of your teammates do that?
Yeah, I would say probably almost everybody. There's one girl, she ended up marrying this guy who was like a pretty famous YouTuber. And so then she became pretty famous off of that. So she's probably the most successful like influencer. Her name's Kelsey Lawrence, if anyone like follows her on Instagram. And they would post like, they're like YouTubers now and they would make so much money. I know I heard they had like a deal with them, I think it was American Airlines, and they both were able to negotiate like 15,000 each for one post. Like
Wow.
this is, yeah. So like people are making a lot of money doing this. I'm definitely not making that. I don't have the numbers or the engagement rates that she has, but I mean, people are really like really successful with it. But I always want to make sure to just be like careful of it, because it can sometimes come off in a way of like being a little like narcissistic. Like I've never been one to like post a bunch of like selfies of myself, and so we're always like very cautious to not want to like come across like that still.
Sure. Okay, well, I'm looking through my list of questions to see if I got everything. I think I really did. You want to just kind of talk a little bit more about just your full-time job with this talent agency?
Oh
I
yeah.
think it's fascinating. I think,
Oh, thanks. um, Thank you. So when I first moved to LA, that was last spring, and we got married in the summer. So I wasn't working full time for a while, and I was having like a really hard time with that because I was always used to like having my finance job, also dancing, like being all over the place. I've always done that. So having kind of some time to actually like plan a wedding and get used to living in Los Angeles and figure out what I wanted to do with my career. Because I didn't want to just like grab the first career that kind of like came in my path, the first job that came in my path. So I wanted to be very like smart, like pray about it, really, really think like wisely about where I was going to continue my path. And it wasn't until like October, because I was like applying for a few jobs and it just like wasn't the right fit. And then finally in October, this opportunity presented itself. I actually found it through LinkedIn. I applied for it. And it's so the company is called United Talent Agency. It's one of the top 3 talent agencies in the world. The other 2 are called CAA and WME, but basically we all represent all the top talent, all the top writers. So our clients are like A-list celebrities. We have, I told you this before, we have like Post Malone, he's doing a bunch of stuff, but we have like Will Ferrell, we have just a lot of top talent, but I don't really get to work with the talent very much. I work in the accounting department because my background is finance. So I actually am assisting 2 of the finance executives. So in an agency, I don't know if anyone ever watched Entourage, but it's very kind of like hierarchy a little bit. So typically if you want to go in the agent route, you would start in the mailroom. But luckily, since I have the finance background, I kind of got to like bypass that. So I'm already getting to interact with like all the executives and all the top agents and the CFO and the presidents and the CEO and all this stuff. So it's kind of like a cool like fast track that I had, rather than having to like start in the mailroom, but just like in the basement. We call them like the mailroom kids. But yeah, if you watch Entourage, it's literally like that, except they can't do like the harassment stuff. So it's actually like a very like safe, like cool, fun place to work. Like I love it. I'm obsessed with it. It kind of combines my background of like finance and analysis and organization with my love for entertainment. So I literally could not think of a better job for me.
well, I guess with all this extra time, I'll have to look up Entourage and start binge watching.
It's a little inappropriate
All right,
disclaimer, but it's very entertaining.
fair enough. It looks like we got somebody joining us here. I'm not sure who that is. Is that I can see everybody on, and again, I'm sorry that you can't.
Oh yeah,
Is
no
that
problem.
Belen? Is that you maybe? McKenna? Violetta? Oh, she shut off her screen. Okay. Well,
I can't see anything.
so I guess I'll kind of leave it with this. Do you have any advice? Do you have any suggestions if somebody wants to get into social media as a form of, I guess, income? What would you suggest somebody? How would somebody start with that?
Yeah, okay, so 2 things. Pinterest is your best friend. I literally typed in how to start a blog or how to like make money from social media, and I learned so much from that. I just read like thousands of articles. There's a lot of like smart content out there to help you. Like they'll literally do it like buy pictures like this, go here, like do this. So people have like really, really been helpful with all of that. And then kind of, I touched on this earlier, but the course that I took was by Julie Solomon, and it was called Pitch It Perfect. And she's helping people who have like less than 5,000 followers land like $1,000 brand deals. So just a very, very awesome course. It's expensive though. It's like $500. So I would only spend that if you're like very serious about this, but it basically teaches you how to pitch companies in like a smart way and how to land brand deals. So those would be my 2 things, Pinterest and Julie Solomon would be
Julie
my
Solomon.
advice.
All right.
Yes.
I assume that's an online course. Of course,
Yeah.
every course is an
Mm-hmm.
online course right now. But
Yeah.
okay, well, cool. Well, Jess, it's always great to see you and always great to catch up. And thank you so
You
much
too.
for doing this. I'll share this with the students, and if I can figure it out, I will share it with you too.
Perfect.
And see your self-talk if you're interested.
Okay.
Um, I'm sure we'll catch up online sometime. I'll let you know how all this goes, and
All
I
right.
wish you the best, and tell your husband good luck with all the screenwriting, and
Yeah.
hope that things get back to normal for you guys,
Yes. Thank
for all of us.
you.
But
Yep.
enjoy your Airbnb experience, and I look forward to maybe seeing some photos.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. Good
Okay,
luck with
great
the rest of
talking.
the school year.
Thanks, Jess. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.